dropping some throttle. Nose up. Little rudder. All right, got myself the FMS 1400 millimeter Corsair. You've seen that I've had the 1700 for quite a while. Great plane. Got this one. I will say I'm very pleasantly surprised at how well it flew. I shouldn't say surprised, but it was just, boy, the Maiden went easy. And all my subsequent flights got close to 15 to 20 flights of her. Really enjoy flying it. Good flying plane. It's an older model, so the build part, there's a little more work involved, and I'm going to go over what some of those things are. Also go over some of the things that I made slight modifications to, and I'm going to go over my settings, CG, things that they're not very well described in the documentation. I want to cover that. Then I'm going to go through my Maiden, going to go through a couple landings, a little bit more flying, talk about the comparison between the 1700 Corsair I have and this one. What are the pros and cons? And then at the very end of the video, like the last couple videos, I'm going to give away another one of these FMS Zeros. So at the end of the video, there's all the instructions on how to enter the drawing. Please follow those and get yourself a chance to win that thing. So hope you stick around. Hope you enjoy. Any questions, comments, all that stuff, leave that. Please like, subscribe, all the cool stuff. Makes me feel good about doing these videos. Thanks a lot. Stick around. Cool flaps. Foam hinges. We'll have to put on the control horns, get everything set up. Foam doesn't look too bad. And got a pile of connectors. And it's nice that you can see that. That looks like everything's kind of tied into the one cable. At least that's what it looks like, which is similar to the large 1700. So curious, same kind of light configuration. There, the retracts are a little different. This has this, almost looks like, I don't know, it doesn't, a little different how that is set up. I'll have to dig into that a little bit more. Larger one fits differently. So, have to, looks like, yeah, I think the sticker there needs a little modification. Not a big deal. Oh, it's not cut on that side, that's why. There we go. Documentation. Okay. Got some control horns. It's a foam hinge. It's already cracking a little bit right there, and it broke through the paint, really is what it looks like. So I'll put a bead of foam tack along that. Quality control, so you know it's packed well. All right, so we got that. Now, of course, last but not least, let's see how the fuse turned out. She is in here. Gently trying to get her out. Looks good. There's no damage or anything. Looks pretty solid. There's a lot of similarities between this and the 1700 that I have. 1700 didn't require as much assembly. This does not have a retractable tail wheel. Not a big deal, but it's just one of those things. Just doesn't have that. And I'll have to get inside here and take a look at what's in here. And have to put on some tape or something in order to open this thing up, because it looks like I'm trying to open this hatch up, trying to figure out how to do it. There we go. Ah, dang it. Launch it across the room. But we've got an 80 amp ESC. All the cables going to the receiver. There is no reflex on here. Big plane like this doesn't need it anyway. But big compartment. Obviously, we've got some magnets here, and the canopy, which I launched over here. Hopefully I didn't ding up anything too badly. And I'll put a little piece of tape back there so I can have something to pull that off. Let me kind of explain something on how this works. I know you probably already know, but all right, you can have a long screw and a short screw. On this back plate, and this is where the screws screw into, you'll notice that there's a little bit of extra material in their caddy corner. Long screw goes at the hinge area because the material in the aileron in this case is thicker, and that is going to go in the opposite side. So I'm going to put this in like so. I just feel that, and I know that one screw, the long screw, is going to go right here. And for me, because I'm weird, I want it to look the same as this. I don't know why. As I'm screwing this, I'm going to screw it down until I can feel the tip of that screw protruding through the back plate. Just a little bit. I just want to feel it with my finger just to where it starts going through, and then I don't want to go through anymore. I don't want to crush this too bad, because people can get a little too excited about it, I think, and really mess them up. So that's it. Those are done. That doesn't take any time at all. Going to go through the rest of the control surfaces and do that. If I see something that's a little odd, I'll let you know. It's going to work. I got to figure out the battery situation. It has Velcro. I don't like Velcro in a situation like this because it's just too hard to get the battery out. So I'm going to figure out something else. Putting the wing on was a little challenging. And the reason why is the two things. One is there's a packet of wires that right down there that's in the back part, and it's zip tied together. I thought I was smart and chopped the zip ties to get to the cables that go into the mixing board. Cables were all over the place, so trying to get those pushed up against the shelf area here in the wing and get these so they seat. So as you're pushing this wing on, these wires are all over the place, and they kind of cause a bit of a frustration for me. I would not remove that zip tie when you're assembling the wing. Cut it after, because you're going to need it to get to these wires right here. Let me pull one. Come on. To get to this, and to get it so it will stretch long enough to fit into the board. So first thing I would do is just keep them tied, keep them zip tied, install it, make sure everything fits properly. It was a little fiddly getting the wings together. It's an older plane, older mold. It took a little force, but everything went together fine. It's just part of the modeling. Now what I'm going to do is center all the servos with my handy dandy servo tester. Center the servos and then get all the linkages installed. Then I'll get my radio set up and start fiddling around with the battery compartment, making it clean, tidy. All the same stuff I'd normally do. One of the things that happened it's the prop adapter. Weird thing, it wasn't machined properly. And I've had this kind of stuff happen before in different models, but not a big deal. All you do is I took a mill file and removed a bunch of material from there. A bunch, I shouldn't say. I removed a couple strokes of material. It's soft aluminum. I flattened that spot out and worked it till the prop fit on it perfectly. It was not a big deal. Take the cowl off so you don't scrape everything up with that file. So don't manhandle the screws and smash your foam like I did on the tail section. There's a screw on the top and a screw on the bottom.
Keep in mind, I had to add 1.5 ounces of lead. And there I put it in the upper part of the vertical, just cut out a little foam, inserted some 1 ounce of lead, and here I have a 1/2 ounce in the tail section. Nice and clean and tidy, and you can't see it.
Added my tape to the top here so I can pull this thing off. It's on pretty sturdy. Gonna try to fly it with a 3200 CG on it. CG says it's like 95 to 105. But that's way too far back on the cord. Saw where RC Geek says it's right on this panel line, and that's the same spot it is on my 1.7 meter Corsair from FMS. So I'm going to go with that and give that a try. If anything, it'll be nose heavy. I'm okay with that. As far as the battery compartment, got zip tied up like I normally do, kind of cleaned things up a little bit, and I routed the ESC up top here in this little crevice that looks like it was made for it. Had to reroute all the wires to the motor, but that again, it didn't take hardly any time, and I think it'll just be a better solution to keep that ESC out of the battery bay a little bit. So we'll see. Hope to fly it soon and tell you how that goes.
Here's the setup. I might play with the CG a little bit. I might make it closer to 90 instead of 95. And might play around a little bit more with the elevator. But for the most part, that setup, it does fly exceptionally well.
All right, at 3/4 throttle. Gear up. Bring her back down to about 2/3 throttle. Lights look great. Wow. Gotta tell you, I haven't touched a trim yet. Give maybe a little up. Hate when my lanyard gets in the way. Can't see what I'm doing. Alright, that looking good. She handles really good. I got her on mid-rates. Okay, quit screwing around. Well, I need to do some stall tests. Alright. She's trimmed. Wasn't bad. Little flap. Pulling back on throttle. Dropped a little bit, but not too bad. All right, full flap. Full flap. Up elevator. Just getting a little squirrely. Not too bad. Gear down. Little flap. Full elevator. Yeah, she'll drop, but I mean, pretty benign. Alright, I'm going to do a CG test. Oh, ever so slight. So the CG's at 95 millimeters. Kind of what everybody said. I've got a big 3200 in the front, so I had to add 1.5 ounces of lead to the tail. Somebody said there's some metal slugs in the back, or in the front. Boy, she flies great. That's a really good flying plane. This is my maiden flight, and I'm just having a blast with her, but I do need to check out her battery. I'm going to make some approaches. Cutting back on throttle a little bit, half throttle. Doing some approaches. Boy, she looks great. Another approach. Do have half flap on for this, just to get her to slow down just a little bit. Cutting back on half throttle, now about a third throttle elevator. Came in pretty hot. Came in a little hotter than I'd like. I'm gonna fiddle with, maybe give a little full flap next time. That was the Maiden. That was one of the better Maidens I've ever had. She was almost completely trimmed out. CG was great. Wow. Really impressed. Second flight of the new Corsair. Not going to change anything really. Put another battery in. She flew great. Just going to get some more flying in on her. I got a little GPS for speedometer. Didn't run it down the runway like I like, but that's all right. Wasn't on the rudder enough. All right. Let's do a full speed pass, full throttle. Up. Over. Plenty of power. I mean, it's scale power. Let's go straight up, right from here, straight up. Plenty. Cut the throttle. Feed in a little throttle there. Line it a little over half throttle here. Set my timer for 5 minutes with a 3200. Let's try to do, see if I can get her to do anything like a difficult stall. Yeah, she'll do an accelerated stall. You throw that elevator back a little too much, she won't like that, which is would be expected. Got mid rates on her, kind of in the middle, obviously. Very nimble. Really a good flying plane. I'm gonna do some touch and goes. Gears coming down, half throttle, modulating that throttle a little, pull back on throttle, about a quarter throttle, carrying some speed. Flaps up. Give a full flap. A full flap. Got a little mix in there. Kind of like the mix. Making my turn. Line her up. Pulling back on throttle. Giving some elevator. Full flap again, making my turn, line her up, pulling back on throttle a little bit more, feeding in some elevator, throttle, modulating it quite a bit. Little rudder there to keep her tracking right. FMS did a great job with this one. This is an old plane, but man, she flies good. I'm staying in the full flap. Carrying a little speed. Boy, she looks great. Big loop, no problem. Drop gear, little throttle. Bringing her down, lining her up, backing off throttle a little, working that throttle, a little speed. Boy, she was dropping right at the very end there, pretty good. She will, you start giving a little elevator, she'll slow down and pancake on you. She is a big heavy warbird, but not that heavy, frankly. Boy, she flies super impressed with her. Super impressed with her, if you can't tell. Briefly, want to highlight a couple areas or differences between the 17 and the 1400. First and foremost, it is significant. That 300 millimeters, you would think is not a big deal. It is significantly different, as you can see from the pictures. The 17 is just massive. And so storing that's a little different. You know, I store and travel with it with wings off, whereas this one, the wings are on. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about what do you want, how much room do you have in your shop, how are you going to store this versus just the fuselage and the wings on the 17, travel-wise as well. Battery, this one, 4S, the 17 is 6S. Scale looks, by far, I think the 17 is much better. The landing gears look better, the tail wheel retracts, just things about it. It's a bigger plane also. It just, to me, it looks a little cooler in the air. I don't know what it is about it. But from the standpoint of flyability, this one I think is a superior flyer. Has a little bit more power, a little bit more speed. Not that 17 is bad, it's just it flies very scale. You have to keep some speed up. You have to manage that speed, whereas this one just has a little bit more punch. You could probably tweak with props and different things and maybe get more punch out of this one, whereas that you really need to go up to like 8S or something like that. So from that standpoint, you know, they're both wonderful flyers. This one is a little bit more capable, I think, stock, from an aerobatic and performance and speed, power ratio and all that stuff. Landing and such, about the same. They both, I think the bigger one maybe can land a little slower, a little easier to fly, frankly, because it's just a big gentle giant, whereas this one has a little bit more zippiness to it if you want. So that's my take. Quickly, let me summarize this and who's it for. One, as you saw, I had 2 flights in it. I was really enjoying just those 2 flights. I've flown this quite a bit more since. I enjoy it. It's a fun plane to fly. Performance is good. Landings aren't overly difficult. Ground handling is pretty darn good, in fact. I was surprised at how well it handled on the ground, on landings and takeoffs. I like that. The assembly process was a little bit more than I'm used to, that most of us are used to. So if you're okay with a little problem solving during that assembly process, then you're going to enjoy this plane as well. But I will say that the flying part is a big plus here. It flies really, really well. Performance is good. So who's it for? If you're looking for your first warbird and you've got a couple planes under your belt and you've done some repairs and you understand what's involved with the tail dragger, then I would say this plane is for you.
If you understand modulating that throttle, you know, if you're used to just cutting throttle and gliding in, you need to learn a different skill for this, because this plane will not let you do it. You will pancake and just pop those gears off. So you do need those skills. Definitely a worthwhile plane to look at. Highly recommend it. Fun plane. There's a link in the description as far as an affiliate link if you're interested. You know, leave a comment, like, subscribe, all the cool stuff. Next, we're going to talk about how to win one of those FMS Zeros. So stay tuned for that. Have a great day. All right, you want to win this? Pretty simple. First thing, it's only for you folks in the US. FMS is only shipping to the US. Second, like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And somewhere in that comment, you have to say FMS 0, just like I have it here. You can ask questions and do whatever, but somewhere in there it has to say FMS 0, because that's what I'm going to tag off of when I do the random drawing. Once, and I'll do that in probably a week or so, I will reply to the winner's comment, and then the winner, you'll see an email that says I commented to your comment or replied to your comment, and I'll have my email address in there. You can shoot me an email. I'll reply back with the codes that you'll need when you enter that. There'll be 2 codes, one for shipping and one for the actual plane. So anyway, good luck. Take care.